Hello friends, welcome back to the official page of Read My Course. I'm Dr. Shatabdi and today we will be starting the first class on digestion and absorption. So let's begin. So what are the topics we are going to see today? We are going to have a look into the alimentary canal, starting off with the oral cavity, that is the mouth. So we will have a look at the oral cavity, then we will study about the dentition, that is the teeth. We will learn about the dental formula, then we will learn about the different types of dentition present in humans, then we will learn a little bit about the tongue and its functions in digestion. We will follow it by esophagus, that is the food pipe, and finally we will learn about the mechanism of swallowing, right? Okay, so what is digestion? Digestion is the process of conversion of complex or larger food molecules into simpler forms or smaller food molecules which can be easily absorbed by the cells. Okay. Now this process of digestion basically begins from the oral cavity. From the moment we are putting the food inside our mouth, from that time only the process of digestion is beginning. The first thing that happens in our oral cavity or mouth is that we chew with our teeth, right? What happens is the larger particles of food are broken down into smaller particles of food, okay? That is the first thing which is done by the teeth. Then what happens is we have the tongue in our oral cavity. The function of the tongue is to moisten the food, okay, so that it becomes easy for us to swallow the food. Another important function of this tongue is that it has saliva, right? Now these saliva which is present in the oral cavity starts a process which is known as chemical digestion. Okay, there are some enzymes within those saliva which basically breaks down the food from starch to simple molecules. In the coming slides, we will read about them in details. Now, this process of digestion, I have already told you, it starts from the mouth, then in the stomach, in the large and small intestines, and finally it ends with the anus. Okay. And it is not only essential that we digest the food, it is equally important to be absorbed by the cells. So what is this absorption? The small molecules which are left from digestion are absorbed through the walls of the intestine. Where it is absorbed via the walls of the intestine into the bloodstream. Okay, and then it is pumped around in our body. So this process is the absorption, right? So if we have a look at, I'll just zoom it for you. See, it starts from the oral cavity, then we are moving to the pharynx, then we are moving to the esophagus. From there we arrive at the stomach. From the stomach we move to the large intestine, small intestines, then finally we end at the anus. So this is the whole organ system or organs which are mainly involved in digestion. Okay. With that, we move to the next slide. So first of all, we have to learn about the parts or structures which are present in the oral cavity. So what are the important structures which are present in the mouth? Some we already know. For example, we know teeth is present. We know tongue is present, right? Then we have the gum, that is the support to the teeth. That soft tissue which is supporting the teeth, that is the gum. It is known as gingiva, Gingiva, gingiva. Okay. Okay, I'll just mark it out for you. So we have the gingiva, we have the lips, we have teeth, okay, we have the tongue. These things we know. Now the tongue is attached in the oral cavity to the floor, okay, to the floor of the mouth, okay, by a structure which is known as frenulum. The tongue is attached with the floor of the mouth by a structure which is known as frenulum or frenum. Okay. Then we have the buccal mucosa, that is the lining of the oral cavity, the inner lining of the oral cavity, that is the mucosa. Okay, that is the buccal mucosa, the labial mucosa. In the front it is known as the labial mucosa, and at the back portion posteriorly it is known as the buccal mucosa. Okay. Then posteriorly we have the tonsils. Okay. A pair of tonsils is present. We have a hanging structure which is the uvula, and in front of this uvula we have this soft palate. Okay, the palate is divided into two parts, the hard palate and the soft palate. Now posteriorly we have the soft palate and anterior portion is the hard palate. So these are some of the important structures which are present in the oral cavity. Another important structure we have, that is the retromolar trigone. The retromolar trigone is the part which is attached to the posterior most part of the teeth, that is the wisdom teeth or the molars. Right from the back side of the molars, tissue extends, okay, and connects the upper teeth with the lower teeth. That particular part is known as the retromolar. Retro means at the back, because it is situated posterior or at the back of the molars, it is known as retromolar trigone. Okay. Now the salivary glands are situated at very close or proximity to the oral cavity, but they cannot be considered directly to be parts of the oral cavity. There are three important salivary glands, major salivary glands. Besides these three major salivary glands, we have many minor salivary glands. What are these major salivary glands? They are the parotid, the submandibular and the sublingual glands. Okay, the parotid, the submandibular and the sublingual glands. These are the major salivary glands. So what is the most important function of the oral cavity? It is, the most important function is ingestion. What is ingestion? Ingestion refers to taking in the food. Okay, first important function is ingestion. Then what happens inside the oral cavity is that it is breaking down the larger food particles into smaller boluses. That happens how? That happens with the help of the teeth. The teeth are chewing and breaking down the particles. Okay, then comes the action of saliva. What the saliva does is it moistens the food and helps in the formation of a food bolus. Okay, so that it becomes easy for us to swallow. And what the tongue does is, this helps further in the processing of the creation of a bolus, so that we can deglute, that is, we can swallow easily, right? With that, we move to the next slide. Here I have shown you a picture where I have pointed out the three major salivary glands. The parotid gland, which is situated just in front of the ears, right? I hope you can see it. This is the location of the parotid gland, just in front of the ears, one on the right, one on the left. Then we have the submandibular gland. The submandibular gland is located just below the, at the side of the face, right? Just below the jaws. That is the submandibular gland. And the sublingual gland is situated in the anterior part, just below the tongue, that is in the floor of the mouth. We have the sublingual glands, right? So these are the major salivary glands. Another important thing you should know over there, that we have salivary ducts. See, these are the salivary ducts. The saliva, they are produced in the glands. After being produced in the glands, they travel from these ducts, through these ducts, and they are finally opening up into the oral cavity. That is how the saliva is arriving in the oral cavity. It is being produced in the glands, and via the ducts it is opening into the oral cavity, and saliva is coming over there. Okay. Now, besides the many functions which saliva has, for example, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, then we have buffering action, tooth remineralization action. The most important ones which are associated with digestion and absorption are coating and lubrication of the food. We have studied that it lubricates the food, moistens the food. And in food digestion, what happens is, it has an enzyme which is known as salivary amylase. Very important, remember. This salivary amylase is the enzyme which is salivary enzyme which is responsible for breaking down starch into sugar, for breaking down starch into simpler forms of sugar, right? With that, we move to the next slide. Dentition. What do we mean by dentition? Dentition means the teeth. Okay, the teeth which is present in the oral cavity, that is together referred to as dentition. Okay, now in case of humans, we have two sets of teeth. We know this. Children have milk teeth. These milk teeth, they exfoliate, and then a new set of teeth grows. That is what? That is the permanent teeth. So because humans have two sets of teeth, they are known as they are known as diphyodont. Diphyodont, di means two. Because we are having two sets of teeth, that is known as diphyodont, right? Now, we know that in case of permanent teeth, how many teeth are there? There are 32 teeth. In the total oral cavity, we have 32 teeth. And how we are dividing these 32 teeth? 8, 8, 8, 8. Each arch, okay, this is the upper arch and this is the lower arch. The upper arch we can divide into two, right and left. The lower arch we can divide into two, right and left. So, in each arch we have 16, upper arch 16 teeth, lower arch 16 teeth, right? So, total 32 teeth. Okay. Now, let's have a look at the picture over here. See, all the teeth or the structure of all the teeth in our mouth or in our oral cavity is not the same. They have different structures. The anteriors or the teeth which are present in the front portion are structurally different from the teeth which are present at the back portion, right? So what are their names? We will know. Let me zoom this picture for you. See, the most anterior ones which are present, they are the incisors. They are the incisors. Okay. So, how many incisors we have? We have 4 incisors in each arch. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So, total how much? How many? 4 in each. We have 2 arches, so 8. Right? 8 incisors. Then, canines. We have 1 canine in each side. This side 1 canine, this side 1 canine, this side 1 canine, this side 1 canine. So, how many? 4, right? 4 canines. So, incisors total is 8, canines 4, premolars, the ones which are present behind the canines. We have 2 in each, 2, 2, 2, 2. So, how many? That is again 8, right? Then we have molars. First molar, second molar, third molar. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So, 3 in each. That is total of 12. So, how much is that? 12 plus 8 plus 4 plus 8. Right? This many teeth we have in the permanent dentition and they are numbered. As we move from the center towards the periphery, they have numbers. Like the incisors are numbered 1, 2, right? Then we have 3 is the canine, okay? Then we have premolars, that is 4, 5 and 6 through 8, that is 6, 7, 8, they are the molars. So, when somebody refers to as the number 6 teeth, that is what? That is the first molar. Number 3, that is the canine. Number 1, that is the central incisor, okay? Among incisors also we have a division, that is central incisor and lateral incisors, okay. Now let me zoom out, okay. So, whenever we are talking about dental formula, what it means is we are talking about half of the arch, right? So, that is why in half of the arch, how many do we have? In half of the arch, we have 2 incisors, we have 1 canine, we have 2 premolars and we have 3 molars, right? So, what is the formula over here? 2, 1, 2, 3. 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars, 3 molars for half of the arch. That is, when we are dividing the upper arch into right and left for only this half of the arch, okay, we are speaking. Now, because in case of humans, these teeth are embedded in a socket, right, and further they are supported by the gingiva from the side. That is why these structures are known as, this arrangement actually is known as thecodont. When teeth are present in the socket, okay, they are known as thecodont, socket of the jaw, okay. And you know the main function of teeth is the help in mastication, chewing. We have already read this. Another important thing you should remember is because of the anatomical variations which are present in the human teeth, that is the look, each tooth looks different from the other. That is why it is known as heterodont type of dentition. What it is known as heterodont. Hetero means something that differs. Hetero. Homo means same type of thing. So hetero means something that differs. So that is why heterodont dentition. So we have learned some terms over here. We have learned diphyodont, then we have learned heterodont, then we have learned a little about the dental formula. We have learned what is thicodont, right? These just try to remember these terms. Next we move on to the slide. So this is a slide on the dental formula in details. I will like you to appreciate the picture first. See, yes, I think you can see this. See, primary teeth. In case of primary teeth, what is happening? We are having incisors. The incisors are in green. Okay. Similar to the permanent teeth. That is 4 in each arch. Right. Now we have canines, that is in red. That is also similar to the permanent teeth. That is 2 in each arch, 1 on one side. Okay. The difference comes in the premolars. See, in the primary teeth, there is no premolar. Premolars are absent. Premolars are only present in the permanent teeth. So what we have in deciduous teeth is, after canines, we have directly the molars, those in the blue. And in case of permanent teeth, see, after canines, what we have? We have a set of premolars, 2 premolars on each side of the arch, and then we have 3 molars. That is why there is a difference in the dental formula in deciduous teeth and permanent teeth. So in permanent teeth, the dental formula is what? It is 2, 1, 2, 3. It is 2, 1, 2, 3. Whereas in case of deciduous dentition, the formula is 2, 1, 2 only. 2, 1, 2 by 2, 1, 2. 2, 2, 1 canine, 2 molars. So 2, 1, 2. Here 2, 1 canine, 2 premolars, 3 molars. So 2, 1, 2 and 2, 1, 2, 3. You should remember that this is a difference between the dental formulas in the primary teeth and the deciduous and the permanent teeth. Another important question is, if somebody asks you which is the only set of teeth or type of teeth which appears only once in the human oral cavity, what is the answer? The answer is premolars. Premolars are present only in permanent dentition. They are absent in deciduous dentition. With that, we move to the next slide. See, we will learn a little bit about the tongue. Tongue is one of the strongest muscles, though it looks small, and we find that there are many other muscles in our body which appears to be much larger in size and maybe stronger than the tongue. But remember this interesting fact that tongue is the strongest muscle in the human body. Okay, and we have some small bumps on the surface of our tongue. The tongue is coated with small bumps. These bumps are nothing but the papillar structures which are present in the tongue. What are the papillas which are present? We have a look at this picture. We have in the anterior, we have the filiform papilla. In the center, we have the fungiform papilla. Then as we move backwards, we have the follate papilla and the circumvallate papilla. Follate papilla is at the sides and circumvallate papilla is at the posterior most part. What is the importance of these papilla? Now these different papilla have different taste buds which help us in the sensation of taking in the taste. We feel sweet, sour, bitter, salty. How these things happen? These things happen because of the presence of these thousands of tiny taste buds which are present in this papillas in the tongue. Okay. So what are the tastes and where do we find such tastes? See, sweet and salty are in the anterior part, right? Then as we move to the back sides, we have the sour taste at the sides of the tongue, and bitter is in the circumvallate region, bitter taste. Okay. So besides playing a very important role in taste sensation, besides being the primary organ of taste, tongue also plays another important role. That is, as we are speaking, The tongue plays an important role in producing the various sounds, the various words, the various letters that we are trying to speak. So it helps in speaking, that is articulation of the words. Tongue is an important organ that helps in articulation of the words. Okay. With that, we move to the next slide. So by now we have known that when we put a food particle into our mouth, what happens is the tongue coats it, saliva moistens it, teeth chews it, produces small bolus. Then what happens? Finally we swallow it, okay, and it goes into the food pipe and finally into the stomach. So there are some interesting things which we need to know about this whole process of swallowing from the mouth. As the food is passing from the mouth to the stomach, that process is known as swallowing. It mainly takes place by peristalsis movement, okay. Now I would like you first of all to appreciate some important structures which are present. See, this is the side view of a human head. Now what we are noticing is, we know the mouth is present, okay. So as we are taking in the food, just have a very good look. I want you to have a very good look over here, okay. See, we are noticing two structures. One is this windpipe in the front, and another structure is the food pipe or the esophagus at the back. Exactly in this fashion it is situated in our human body. That is, the windpipe is over here, and at the back, just posterior to the windpipe, we have the food pipe or the esophagus, right? Now, an important question might arise in your mind that we are taking in the food through the mouth, right? Then we have a common passage which is this portion, just before the structure divides into two. This part is the pharynx. Mouth, then we have the pharynx, and after that starts the food pipe and the windpipe. Now when we are taking in food, how is it that the food does not enter into the windpipe? There are chances na, ki the food may enter into the windpipe. So there must be some structure guarding or closing this particular windpipe so that food is only able to enter through the food pipe. That particular structure is nothing but the esophagus, is the epiglottis. See, the epiglottis, a structure called the epiglottis, it is like a flap, right, which opens and closes. I will explain the whole mechanism in the next slide. For the time being, know this much, that this is because of the presence of a fold structure which is known as the flap-like structure, which is known as the epiglottis. Okay. Now moving on to the next slide. See, I have tried to show you the whole process of swallowing. It is a bit difficult. I will try to explain. First of all, I will zoom in on this picture so that you can see it. So this is the process of normal swallowing. What is happening? What are you noticing? See, 1, 2, 3. There are 3 pictures. Now in the first picture, see, this blue colored arrow is the air passage. We are taking in the air through the nose. This is the nose. This is the mouth, okay. So air is entering through the nose, and then we have, and food, this green colored structure is the food bolus. The food bolus is being taken in through the mouth. So they are arriving at a common part, this one, pharynx. And this fold over here, this fold that you are noticing over here, this is what? This is the epiglottis, okay. See the next picture, what is happening? When we are trying to swallow, see what is happening. This epiglottis is closing over the windpipe. This front structure, this windpipe, see epiglottis. I think I'll change the color of the pen so you will be able to understand. See, this is the epiglottis closing, and this is the windpipe over which the epiglottis is closing. So what is happening is the food is not being able to enter into the windpipe. The food is going into the food pipe that is present backwards. That is the esophagus. And again, after we have swallowed the food, see the third picture. See the third picture. After the food has entered into the esophagus, what is happening? Again this epiglottis is opening. See, the epiglottis has opened, the airway has opened, air is again coming in and passing into the windpipe. So this is the whole process. Why? In case of swallowing, when we are swallowing food, the food bolus does not get inside the windpipe or the trachea. Windpipe is the trachea, food pipe is the esophagus. Okay. So you can ask me a question that what happens when a person chokes? Sometimes during eating we choke, like we cough and all, we cannot breathe. What happens? What happens is, by mistake, if somehow by mistake the epiglottis does not close, and have a look at this picture, by mistake if somehow the epiglottis does not close over this pipe, windpipe, what happens? There are chances that the food bolus might enter into this windpipe instead of this esophagus. That is when the choking occurs. That is when the coughing occurs. I hope you understand this. Okay. Okay, so with that, we come to the end of this class. In the next class, we will continue with this chapter of digestion and absorption. We will be studying in details about stomach, its various parts, functions, etc. Till then, take care, stay safe, stay alert. If you like this video, then please do like, share, subscribe and comment in the comment section below. Let me know if I can improve my classes. Let me know if you have any questions. I will like to answer them as much as I can and communicate with you. Till then, bye guys. Let's meet in our next class.